Stories with a Voice Like This presents Denslow's Little Red Riding Hood, adapted and illustrated by W. Denslow. Little Red Riding Hood. The forest was bright with the many-colored leaves of autumn as Little Red Riding Hood tripped merrily along the woodland path towards her grandmother's cottage, 2 or more miles from her own house, with a basket of good things for the old lady. There were cheesecakes, honey, some oolong tea, gingerbread, and many little dainty tidbits that the good grandmother could not get in her far-away home. Little Red Riding Hood was a favorite child of the fairies, so no harm could ever come to her, and she was a friend of all the little songbirds in the wild wood, so that they came and twittered to her, and she talked to them in their own language as she went gaily on her way. "Good morning, Red Riding Hood," said the gaunt gray wolf, as he stood in her path and sniffed at her basket. "What have you there?" "Some cheesecakes and sweets for my granny dear," said she, "so get out of my way and let me go on, for I must hurry." She did not like the hungry look of the wolf, nor the gleam of his cruel-looking teeth when he smiled and tried to look pleasant. It made the hungry wolf's mouth water when he heard of all those good things, and as he was a greedy robber, he had a great mind to take them away from Riding Hood and eat them up. But when he heard the ring of the woodman's axe as he chopped at the sturdy oaks near by, he was afraid that a call from Riding Hood would get him into trouble, so, as he was a crafty old wolf, he simply said, with a smile, "Why, certainly, my dear, run right along to Granny. I hope you find her well." But no sooner was she out of sight than off he flew, by a short cut, to the cottage of the grandmother, for he was bound to have that good dinner if he could get it. Loudly he knocked at the door, and as there was no answer, he pulled the latch-string and went sneaking in. "Granny isn't here," he said to himself. "Now I will have it all my own way, and get that basket of good things too. I'll just put on this nightcap and gown that are hanging here, and when Riding Hood comes in and puts the basket down, I will jump up and growl and snap my teeth. She will be frightened, of course, and run away. Then I will have the cakes and sweets to myself." No sooner said than done, and when he had climbed in between the clean white sheets of the bed and pulled the nightcap well over his long nose, you could not have told the wicked old gray wolf from a nice old lady. Just as he expected, in came Little Red Riding Hood with a bound. She marched right up to the bed and said, "Why, Grandma dear, why are you in bed this beautiful day?" "I'm not feeling very well, my dear," said the wolf, in as mild a voice as a wolf could use. My, what a hoarse voice you have," said the girl. "I have a cold, my dear," said the wolf, and his greedy eyes shone bright under the nightcap. "Goodness, how fierce your eyes look, and what big sharp teeth you have, dear grandmamma," said Riding Hood. "The better to see and to eat up your good sweets with, and you too, if you don't keep still," growled the wolf, as he sprang out of bed. But as he jumped, he got all tangled up in the nightgown, and went flipperty-flop on the floor, where, the more he kicked to get free from the clothes, the more he got wrapped up in them. "No, you don't," said the stout old grandmother, who had come softly in as he made his last speech. "I'll teach you to put on my night clothes and get into my nice bed." She hit him a sounding whack on the head with her walking stick. Crack! And she belabored him over the back. She got the sneaking old gray wolf up in a corner and beat him until he howled for mercy. Then she chained him to a post outside in the garden, where the little girl went up to him and said, "Now will you be good?" and left him to think it over. It was a jolly little lunch that the child and the old lady sat down to that day, with the cheesecakes and sweetmeats from the basket that had been so nearly lost, and they lingered long over the teacups, chatting and trying to think of some way to reform the wolf and make him useful. When the lunch was finally over, Little Red Riding Hood went out and had a long talk with the wolf. He seemed subdued by the beating, and he promised faithfully to be good and to always do as he was bid, if they would feed him and not tell the woodman about what he had done, for he was afraid they would hunt him down and kill him if they knew he had been so wicked. So the little girl sent word by the woodman that she would not be home for a few days, but would stay with her grandmother to keep her company. She then devoted herself to teaching the wolf to be good, useful, and amusing. The first thing she taught him was to sit up and beg for his meals, and never to steal anything to eat. Besides, she showed him many tricks to amuse. He would sit up, stand on his hind legs and walk. He would lie down and roll over. In fact, he would do anything that Riding Hood told him. At night he guarded the house so well that no robbers or tramps would dare come near the place. When she was ready to go home, she hitched the wolf to a funny little cart the woodman had made for her, and bidding her grandmamma good-bye, she started like a little princess in her carriage. Great was the surprise of the master woodman and his wife to see their little daughter come home in a cart drawn by the gaunt gray wolf. They greeted her with joy and treated the wolf well. Little Red Riding Hood named the wolf Towser, and sent him to his friends in the wild wood to tell them how well he was treated and what a good time he had at the home of Riding Hood. So many wolves came and lived in the cottages of the woodmen and farmers of that country, and proved to be useful. And it is to this little girl of the olden times so long ago we owe our thanks for giving to us that trusty and faithful friend, the dog.